I don't want to age anymore. When I started doing more and more research, I found out that all roads basically led to me to glutathione.
So we're talking about this word glutathione, and can you dive in? What is it exactly? You mentioned it being the most abundant nutrient within the body, but what is it?
It is combining of 3 amino acids, but since it's the most abundant peptide produced by human body, the name was given to it was glutathione.
What does science show us as the biggest assaulters?
Even one beer will reduce the glutathione levels to almost zero. If that is not profound enough for you to stop drinking, I'm not sure what else will convince you anybody else.
Telltale signs for people that are that my glutathione needs supported.
This is a very
Dr. Patel, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you for having me today.
I'm really excited to dive deep into glutathione and antioxidants as a whole and its relationship to our health from the inside out and the outside in. It's something I get a lot of questions about glutathione specifically. There's a lot of myths and truths around it, and I'd like to bust the top myths around it if we could. But before we dive into that, can you kind of set the stage for what brought you into this space? What's your background for everybody to know?
Absolutely. So my career started as a pharmacist. I was in the top 2 school in the nation in California. Graduated from the class, and I thought I had all the knowledge in the world to help save the world with my pharmaceutical needs. I quickly realized that all I was going to do for the rest of my life was to manage people's problems and not actually solve any problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wait a second, I didn't go to school for 4 plus 4, 8 years in total to learn to manage people's problems. I said, this is not a deal for me at all. And so I quickly realized that part. I pivoted within about a year and a half. I pivoted my career started getting into more customized compounded medications. And because of that, I started attracting a lot of clients. They were asking me, I said, hey, I have all the money, but all I want to know is how can I live longer? At that time, back in the late 90s, we used to call anti-aging business, right? I don't want to age anymore. Today, the whole thing has changed into longevity business. But at that time, I said, you know what? Let's figure out. And I said, when I started doing more and more research, I found out that if oxidative stress was the number 1 cause of death in the world, what can we do to reduce oxidative stress down? And all roads basically led to me to glutathione. And that's why I said, okay, well, this is great. Glutathione it's a known molecule. We have known for 140 plus years. It should be easy for me to work on it. And I quickly realized, no, it was not that easy. And so that's what my journey started back in the early 2000s on to work on a molecule for to get glutathione into the human body in a way the body can absorb it.
Okay, great. So I didn't actually know. I know a lot about the science of glutathione, but I didn't know the history of it. You mentioned 140 years. That's pretty astounding as far as discoveries go. Do you know the history around it? How it was discovered 140 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, people with this. I think it's Sir Gordon who discovered this glutathione way back when. I think discovery is not that hard because all you do is tap the blood and see what's inside. That wasn't the issue. The issue was if we knew glutathione was the most abundant molecule produced in the human body, what can we do to enhance it? What can we do to improve upon it? And first of all, why does the body produce so much glutathione in the first place? What do we want to know everything about it so that if there's a chance, we can embrace the idea about improving glutathione levels. What can I get in terms of my outcomes? So that was the whole premise of these things. But in 140 years, guess what? Nobody has ever figured out how to actually absorb glutathione intracellularly in the first place.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about this word glutathione. And yes, I admit we have a bunch of health science nerds that listen to the podcast, but then there may be other people that listen to the podcast and they hear this weird word. I forget what show I was on. I forget what it was. Maybe it was the Today Show or Drew Barrymore or something like that. We talked about glutathione and they were making fun of the word glutathione. Then I realized, oh, I'm in mixed company here. Not everyone knows what that is. And maybe people know, even the people that are interested in health, maybe know peripherally what it is. But can you dive in? What is it exactly? You mentioned it being the most abundant sort of nutrient within the body, but what is it?
So it is combining of 3 amino acids, glycine, glutamine, and cysteine. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we can just say it's a tripeptide as an easiest form of saying that part. But since it's the most abundant peptide produced by human body, the name was given to it was glutathione, right? It was the name was given
Yeah.
to it because we want to identify because there's so many tripeptides in our body. We want to make sure that this particular one is remembered and is taken care of because it is by far the most pronounced or profound molecule in our body. So
Hmm.
three amino acids coming together, glutathione was created. Uh, the thing is now the problem is, can we improve those levels in the first place if we need to? And the
Hmm.
second question I get asked all the time is, do we need to improve levels? Can our body produce for until the rest until we're alive? And the answer is absolutely yes. The body can produce for the rest of your life enough glutathione for you to survive.
Hmm. Got it. So the as far as the pathway of production of glutathione, if we could get into the weeds in this in a
Sure.
moment, like what is you mentioned sort of the convergence of these three peptides. What's that process look like? Like sort of the origins, I guess, of the production of glutathione. I'd love to talk
Absolutely.
about that.
So the three amino acids coming together, we require two separate reactions. First, to combine the first and the second amino acids together requires one enzyme. The second and the third amino acids combined together requires the second enzyme. So it requires two enzymes, requires two molecules of ATP, requires one molecule of NAD for electron transfer, and a catalyst like selenium to make the whole process go faster. Well, if you have the three amino acids, two enzymes, two molecules of ATP, one molecule of NAD, your body can literally abundantly produce this what called glutathione molecule for the rest of your life. So
Mm-hmm.
that's in a nutshell is what the body does. And like any peptide, all peptides are produced endogenously. That means they're produced inside your body. You cannot absorb any peptides from outside sources and incorporate that into human physiology.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't get me wrong. People are using this weight loss peptides today like crazy, and yes, it is getting the results you're looking for in terms of the signaling your brain cells to stop eating, and so the signals are getting to the body, but that does not mean that the GLP-1 peptide is actually getting absorbed into the body. It is doing its
Mm-hmm.
job, getting the signals out, and then it's getting out of your body as fast as possible. And so we want to make sure that people understand that just because you get a result doesn't mean the body's absorbing it. But if you absorb it and then get the results are literally profound. And that's what the glutathione is what we have proven.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned the body making this endogenously, naturally. What are, and you also mentioned earlier the depleters. You mentioned oxidative stress, things that can damage glutathione or deplete glutathione production naturally in the body. What does science show us as like the biggest assaulters of glutathione?
Well, it was always been the environmental factors like sunlight, which is not a big deal, but the pollution is a big deal. The one thing that is we know of that depletes glutathione levels to zero is alcohol. And people don't realize that even one drink of alcohol can bring your glutathione levels to zero within minutes. Now, the body will rebound back and produce more glutathione after 4 to 6 hours, but for the next 4 to 6 hours, your body has no glutathione levels, and that's why people are not not the same. And if you don't produce enough, and if you keep on drinking too much of it, and the body cannot produce enough glutathione, that's when the body cannot detoxify the alcohol. The next day, you still have alcohol toxicity inside your body, and you're feeling the effects of it as well. And so when you're younger, when you're 20 years old, the body has plenty of glutathione and it's all the processes in place to get rid of this alcohol. But in the process, it's depleting the glutathione levels. But when the same person's turned 50, all of a sudden, you cannot drink like a 20-year-old anymore because the body does not have the capacity to regenerate and rejuvenate and make all the glutathione that your body needs to give you back, to bring your body back to homeostasis.
Okay, I am so glad that someone else said this on the show and it's not just me because I lose friends every time I talk about it. They're like, "You are a teetotaling puritanical zealot, Dr. Cole, for talking about there's no amount of alcohol, right?" And I look, as a clinician, I'm a pragmatist in the sense of yes, I'll talk about that what you just said, but okay, what's the least assaulting? What's the least amount of neurotoxins? And we can talk about that. But I mean, can you kind of repeat back? Like, so there's not a healthy amount of alcohol in your mind when it comes to alcohol's impact on glutathione production.
Even one beer will reduce the glutathione levels to almost zero. I mean, you don't have to go to hard liquor. You don't have to go to whiskey or tequila or something like that. Even a beer,
Hmm.
which is only about 4% alcohol content, can deplete the glutathione levels to zero. I mean, that
Okay.
if that is not profound enough for you to stop drinking, I'm not sure what else will convince you anybody else.
People are masochistic. I don't know what to tell you, doctor. So I mean, okay. So I'm assuming, do you drink alcohol at all, or
No,
what's your take on it? Not at all.
no, no.
Okay.
I stopped alcohol even before when I used to drink. So I had no alcohol until the age of 35. And from 35 to 45, I drank maybe about 2 drinks a month. Usually at an event or conventions, or I'm at some gathering that everybody's handing over some toasting. So I used to have one or two drinks at that time, and that's about it per month. But then even that completely stopped now, zero.
Got it. So is there the pragmatic in me? Is there the least offensive in your mind? You mentioned even beer being bad, but is there anything that has maybe some redemptive qualities as far as alcohol and glutathione production?
Uh, I don't think so. I personally
I
don't think so. And
I
again,
love the
I
honest
say
answer.
this with wholeheartedly. Now, I have family members that drink at least once a week, and I never stop them from doing what they want to do. But I just ask them, please don't offer me anything because I don't want you to offend you in any which way. Because it's not that I don't want to have a drink with you. It's just that that's not the social gathering I want to be around. And you're
Yeah.
right. The first thing you're going to lose are your close friends because they think the only way they can have friendship with you is to have party together and to drink together. And I said that no, I can. So my go-to drink right now is just soda water with a lime, and that's it. I said I have something in my hand. That's it.
That's me too. So soda water with lime, give it to me all day long. I enjoy it so much, and I don't feel like crap the next day. Right?
You don't. And if you want the bitters in there, guess what? Go to tonic water. It's about 80 calories. It's not going to hurt you. It's
Oh
quinine
man.
sulfate in there. The quinine is going to be a little bit anti-infective anyway. So I'm okay with even with tonic water. But that's the most I can go.
Yeah, we're a fun time, right? We don't need alcohol.
No, we don't.
I'll be your friend. I'll hang out next time I'm in Southern California. Okay, so any other depleters? We talked about environmental pollutants. You mentioned alcohol. Anything else that are depleters of glutathione?
Anything that the body has to get rid of it. So our liver processes all the metabolites, chemicals that we take on a daily basis. So all those can deplete glutathione levels. Even uh, hormones need conjugation pathways to be activated for them to get rid of it. Glutathione aids in the conjugation pathways, so it will deplete the glutathione levels. So keep in mind, glutathione has two processes. I want to make sure people understand this part very clearly. Two processes that we are, as of right now we know about it. One is it's an antioxidant properties, which in that property the glutathione is getting recycled over and over and over again. So what happens is that when you have oxidative stress or you have too much of reactive oxygen species inside your body or reactive nitrogen species for that matter, it doesn't really matter which gas it is, but those are both reactive, and glutathione will quench all this free radical electronic charge and make it and neutralize the free radical. In that process, the glutathione gets oxidized. Oxidized glutathione stays inert inside your body and doesn't get depleted. With the help of other so-called antioxidants from outside sources, mainly vitamin C. Vitamin C, by the way, is not an antioxidant; it's a pro-oxidant. But what vitamin C does is gives the energy to glutathione and revives the glutathione back to normal. So if you
Mhm.
see the antioxidant benefits from vitamin C, it's not that vitamin C is doing anything. It is reviving the glutathione and making it active. And so the benefits that you're seeing is from glutathione and not from vitamin C. Now,
Mhm.
being said that, that's one function. And every time you do that part, the glutathione is getting recycled, gets reactivated again, quenches more free radicals, recycle again, and over and over and over again. That's one process. That's 50% of the glutathione is around that time. The other 50% of the glutathione is actually getting into what we call as conjugation pathways. And for the conjugation pathways, it's a one way process. What really happens is that the glutathione gets itself available to detoxify known chemicals, organic phosphates and pesticides and heavy metals and whatnot. In that process, the glutathione gets depleted. If it gets depleted, the body has to make it again. Now,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? If you're under the age of 30, you have a lot more oxidative stress glutathione, which is the oxidative glutathione, so it gets recycled, and less of the conjugated glutathione, which is get depleted. Unless you're drinking alcohol, it's a whole different story. But then as you start aging, the what happens is that your body's getting a lot more toxic chemicals exposure. And so what's happening is that in that case is actually depleting the glutathione levels completely. And so your body has to constantly produce more and more and more of it. And that's the main reason why we see starting the age of 30 or 35, there is a dip on what your body's actual need for glutathione is and how much your body can actually produce. And there is a slight
Mm-hmm.
difference between those two.
Got it. So then, living in this modern life, mid 30s, 30 to 35, and then obviously more, there's a gap, like a glutathione gap, if you will, between what we need and what we're producing. Okay, so what are some telltale signs for people that are like, okay, how do I know that my glutathione needs supported, or maybe I have a bigger gap of glutathione and I need to be optimizing this?
This is a very difficult question for me to answer. And the reason is
Okay.
because I wish there was a sign or symptom or something that tells us that your glutathione level is decreasing. Because by the time you find out, uh, it's too late. And I'll give you a simple example because this is my beef against the whole healthcare community in the world, not just over here. Because when you're born, I'll give you a simple example. When you're born, you are about 6, 7, 8 pounds. You have less body mass per whatever mass you have, but you have a lot more stem cells, the building blocks. The stem cells are being used up to build your body up to 16, 18, 20-year old. Your stem cells goes down. So now you're a fully grown adult with all the building blocks that's been used up to get you a grown adult. About that time, you start misbehaving yourself. Now that you're a grown adult, I say, hey, I can drink now. I can eat whatever I want to eat because I'm an independent person. And all of a sudden, your body starts depleting some of the natural reserves. What happens then is the body's so brand new that it brings you back to homeostasis every single day after you've been exposing yourself to chemicals and toxic pollutants that you're consuming, either knowingly or unknowingly. But then as the time goes by, the body does not bring back to homeostasis, and the goalpost is moving along towards disease, right? It's not towards healthy, it's towards going towards disease. And so eventually what's going to happen is that if you do a blood test about that time, or a scan or whatever testing you want to do, it's going to show absolutely normal, but your goalpost is moving towards disease. Now, the very first time, around about age 30, 35, whatever, some people's earlier, some people's later, what you're going to see is there's a slight changes because the body is not coming back to homeostasis anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
because of that, there's a slight increase in sugar, the slight increase in cholesterol, slight increase in blood pressure, slight increase in all your oxidative stress markers, MDA levels or ApoB levels, or whatever you're measuring, right? There's a slight increase, not enough to tell you that you're out of range or anything else. It shows that it's a little bit high, but it's still normal. And so what we realize for the very first time, the body is not going back to homeostasis. The body is changing now, and the change is so subtle that nobody is going to treat you whatsoever because they don't know what to give you, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
eventually that goes for another 5, 10, 15 years, and that will eventually lead to some diseases. And then you say, wait a second, the diseases came 20, 15, 20 years after the changes were happening already.
Yeah.
Glutathione is actually working on the very first thing of bringing back your body to homeostasis again. So there is no blood test. There's nothing else like that. By the time you figure out that you need glutathione, you're at least 10 years out, at least, right?
Yeah.
So my thing is that if there's a sign of symptoms, think about 30-year-old fatigue, uh, loss of memory, right? It's just it's the
Brain fog.
brain
Yeah.
fog kicks in, the body's getting out of shape, uh, your inability to process alcohol or toxic chemicals. If you eat something, you say, you know what, I'm at this age now, I cannot eat so much junk food anymore. I have to start getting healthier now. In your 20s, you can eat junk food 3 times a day and you still be okay, right? And all of a sudden, you know what, I can't handle this much food anymore, so I need to cut back a little bit. The body is going through some changes. Of course, what you're going to blame is, oh, I just got married, or I have a kid, or I have a new job, or I get a new car, I have a new house, I have a mortgage payment. They're blaming environmental factors that the stress level is increasing, but the stress level is always there. Your ability to process stress has completely reduced at this point now. So
Yeah.
that's what it is.
I love it. Thank you for that. Okay, so you mentioned kind of stress and stressors, and we're using that word. I'd love to get your thoughts on, is there any good data looking at chronic stress? And I'm thinking even more than that, like unresolved past trauma in the body, and the body being in that more sympathetic fight or flight stressed state from the past. Is there any studies showing that chronic stress and trauma's impact on the acceleration of that glutathione gap?
So it has shown on the other side with it, and it has shown the extent of the aging markers, right? It
Mm-hmm.
is not shown on the glutathione because, in fact, recently, Western University School of Medicine out of Pomona, California, they just published an article right now on effects of long COVID, myocardial infarctions, diabetes, arthritis, Alzheimer's. All this is linking to chronic stress, leading to imbalance in ROS species, leading to all these ancestral diseases. Of course,
Yeah.
they think that glutathione will play a role in it, but the
Right.
glutathione role is not to prevent, not to treat diseases. It's to prevent from happening those things,
Maintain it.
right?
Yeah.
It's maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So I'm hoping that I'm talking to the people today. They are in the 30 to 35 or 40-year range, that they say, hey, wait a second, that's me. I'm okay right now, but
Hmm.
I'm getting a little heavier. I cannot process it like I used to process before. My exercise tolerance has reduced. My body has changed. Can I go back? And there's a good chance, if you have no diseases, there's a very good chance I can bring back to homeostasis again. Is
Hmm.
there a blood test for that? No, there's no blood test for that. We're just going to feel the difference of having a younger lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And so that you can change that part. But if you have a diabetes, if you have Alzheimer's, for God's sakes, right? That's like the body is done changing. The body is done being on homeostasis. All the changes have already occurred in the body, and the body's adapted to this new chemical mix that you have, and it has gone to a point of no return. So now,
Hmm.
if you have diabetes, I can bring you back to where the sugars are under control, but any little stress and boom, it triggers back into diabetes again, right? So it
Hmm.
is very hard to come back into homeostasis if you're already disease state. And that's why me personally, I'm 54 years old, and I'm telling people everything. My goal is to stay disease free as long as possible, because if I stay disease free, there's a very good chance I can live past 100, right? If I get a disease, my clock's ticking. Based on the disease, I can last 5 days, 5 years, or 20 years. It all depends on what disease I get, right? So my job is
Hmm.
to stay disease free as long as possible. And if my markers are good, which they're good, I just did a life insurance test right now, and the guy goes, "Oh my God, your markers don't exist. They're so perfect. You're gonna live forever." So their life insurance policies might get the lowest premium, but to me, it's that I'm going back to homeostasis again. I cannot use that information and say, okay, now I can go back and misbehave. I can have French fries once a week, or I go to burgers and have those things, or I have alcohol once a week. No, they're just telling me that I'm able to regenerate back to normal.
Okay. This is so good. You're speaking my language, doctor. Okay. So get the, all right. You mentioned labs maybe not being we don't have the best labs to maybe measure glutathione directly. Like, are there any ones that are like so good to measure glutathione in the body? And then maybe more importantly, the second part of that question is, what are those labs for you to kind of look maybe indirectly at health span? What are your top things that people should consider?
So for me, I always look for oxidative stress markers. So if you measure glutathione, the only way to measure glutathione is in your blood cells. I mean, you can measure the intracellular levels of glutathione through mitochondria, but that's very hard to test that out. It's muscle biopsies and things like that.
Hmm.
I don't recommend this to anybody, not for glutathione for sure. But the blood test can show a good representation of of glutathione levels. You have to measure the RBC levels, not the whole blood. Plasma glutathione levels, plasma gets filtered into the kidneys by 5 to 15 minutes. Everything is dumped in the kidneys and there's nothing left over at all. So if you get a whole blood test and gives you a normal reading, it could be false positive. So I want to trust that. Red blood cells, you should do this testing, but by the time you draw the blood and it gets to the lab, everything's already oxidized. Everything's
Right.
oxidized. So what you're really measuring is total glutathione level, which is 100% oxidized. In a healthier human being, you assume that 50% is reduced and 50% is oxidized. But I'll tell you, 80 90% of the people, they have less reduced and more oxidized. They have so much oxidative stress in the body that
Hmm.
it's really hard to find reduced form of glutathione into the body to keep on reviving itself. That's why if you take vitamin C and CoQ10 and vitamin E, those products actually do work a little bit because they're actually reviving this oxidized glutathione back into reduced form, right? That's
Hmm.
why vitamin C is so popular because of that purposes. But there's a better way to do that now today. But if you really want to measure your oxidative stress marker, you can measure MDA levels, which is melanaldehyde, or 8-HNE levels, superoxide dismutase levels. But those are all enzymes, which is kind of hit and miss as well.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm looking for ApoB, which is the oxidized cholesterol levels. I just want to see if oxidative stress is high, what is it oxidizing?
Yeah.
And sometimes you can see on your face, if you have oxidized skin on your face, it shows up sunspots and liver, we call it liver spots, all those things. That's oxidation. I don't care. If there's a rust on a nail, that rust is coming from someplace. You don't have to do a test to figure out where the rust is coming from, right?
Yeah. No, totally. So, ApoB, like oxidized cholesterol markers, is there an optimal range that you want it in? Lower the better. What's your take on that?
I would like to have zero personally. But one of the doctors I'm working with, he used to constantly test those markers out, and if the levels are at 6, 7, or 8, he tried to brings it down to bare number 1 or 2 as much as possible. And
Hmm.
with the glutathione supports, he can do that in 6 weeks or 8 weeks at the most. I mean, that
Yeah.
thing just drops like crazy, like really, really fast. And he has never
Hmm.
seen this before in his whole life like that. That glutathione can actually do that part.
Yeah, 100%. We run nuclear magnetic resonance, like NMR tests, and measure small dense LDL particles and ApoB. Same thing. I've seen it. Glutathione, optimizing glutathione, really can drop those numbers down precipitously. What do you think of other inflammation markers like high sensitivity C-reactive protein, homocysteine? What's your take on those markers?
I have done CRPs and homocysteine levels as well, but they have multiple factors affecting those, right? So like
Yeah.
glutathione can actually uh, increase low glutathione can also increase inflammation markers. Inflammation can lead to CRPs, and so it's like a secondary markers. And
Yeah.
so if you measure IL-2s, IL-12s, interferon gamma, TNF alpha, you can see some of those levels getting out of range as well. Uh,
Yes.
One of the doctors I work with, they did a human trial with the glutathione products that we make, and did do a human trial for 30, it was a 30 subject double-blind placebo-controlled trial, and they did see a rise on the inflammatory markers when you infected the blood with mycobacterium infection. They just want to see if I infect the blood with an infection that your body cannot cure it, is the glutathione is going to have a positive response to the immune can it has a positive impact on the immune system, and it did, right?
Hmm.
Now if the levels are low, the inflammation goes up high as well, but the levels are high, and in case of infection it really affects your immune markers right away. So we have seen both in both ends, but normally we don't I don't count too much on the CRPs. Homocysteine, if you think about it, homocysteine is also a secondary marker for low glutathione levels.
Yeah.
It's the body's trying to uh, sequester cysteine molecule as much as possible to produce more glutathione, as one
Hmm.
of the precursors. So the cysteine levels are rising. That means the body needs more glutathione in the first place. So by but again, that's a distant correlation that I want to make sure people understand that just because homocysteine levels are high, that does not may not mean that your glutathione levels are low. It means that your need for glutathione is high. And so
Yes.
even though the levels could be okay, but your needs are high, that means you have some other oxidative stress markers in your body that needs to be lowered, or your stress on your body is high and anyways, so that needs to be lowered. And a lot of people will probably give you methyl B12s and B6 and things like that to lower those homocysteine levels. That's assuming that people have MTHFR gene mutation that they can methylate them. But that's not everybody. That's only few
Hmm.
people. But if you want to have everybody respond to high homocysteine level, glutathione will do the trick.
I love that. It's great clarification on that. These are sort of surrogate labs of proxy labs, if you. I don't know the best way of
Yeah.
putting it. Okay, so what do you think of glutathione precursors like N-acetylcysteine? People ask about NAC and they hear the connection of how it's a precursor to glutathione. What's your take on N-acetylcysteine and glutathione precursors?
We can go over all the delivery systems if you want to. Let's talk with NAC first.
Okay,
So NAC was actually is the only approved drug, not a vitamin, a drug in the world, right? FDA has only approved one product in the whole entire world, which is NAC. The brand name is called Mucomist, and it's still approved as a medicine in the hospitals used today, right? To improve glutathione levels or post-Tylenol toxicities or ingestion of painkillers. And people try to commit suicide with Tylenols, and they revive them back with Mucomist, which is NAC. Okay, it's the simplest thing, but in last 70 years, there's no other drug approved by any agency in the world to improve glutathione levels except for NAC. Okay, so NAC works, it is cheap, and it does do the trick. Now, here's the problem with NAC, and this is what I'm finding out right now. NAC works great when you're young. When you get older, because keep in mind, for NAC to work, that's just a cysteine molecule. You still need to have two more amino acids, which is not a big problem. You can find abundantly those two amino acids. Glycine and glutamine is abundantly found in all kinds of foods, so that's not a problem. The problem is the two enzymes you need to conjugate those amino acids together, and the ATP. As you know, as you age, the ATP levels are reducing anyways. So
right.
even though you have a plenty of raw materials, but you don't have
Mhm.
the energy to make it. Like if you have all the building blocks to build a house, but you only have one laborer to come and work, it'll take you years to build a house, right? Versus
Yeah.
if you have all the building blocks and you have like 100 people working there, boom, you can do in 2 days, you can build a whole thing, right? And so that's what there's a rate limiting step. And as you get older, it's the energy, it's the NAD, it's the enzymes, and not just the cysteine. And so what we are
Got
finding
it.
out today is that as you get older, the NAC may not be sufficiently to raise the glutathione levels to high normal. It'll raise a little bit, but not to high normal ranges. So that's
Got
a
it.
concern.
Got it. So it's there's too many steps to go in, and we're kind of missing that as we age. So the bioavailability is not great. The conversion, the usability is not that good. Okay. I'd love to talk about the other deliverable, like the different glutathione things in the market. Something else that comes into mind is sulforaphane.
Yep.
Right, they could be. We could talk about the foods that are rich in sulforaphane and what you think about that, but also the supplements out there. And yeah, what's your take on sulforaphane?
So I combine all those two into one. Sulforaphane is crucial for vegetables. So we're thinking
Yeah.
about sulforaphanes, dinyl DIMs, indole 3 carbanols, which is I3C, trimethylglycines, TMG, calcium glucarate, CDG. I mean, all these products is combined to one. They are great for if you're having issues with methylation. And the reason people ask me all these questions all the time is because today we are finding out there's a whole slew of people that have MTHFR gene mutation issues,
Yeah,
right?
like
And
40% of people, right? Yeah.
yeah, it's a big number. 15
Hmm.
years ago, we had no idea because there was no testing. Well, there was testing, but nobody could afford the test. It was
It wasn't accessible. Yeah.
yeah, it was $5,000 per test. Because nobody can afford it. Now for $500, you can have map the whole genome for $500 nowadays, right? And so people are finding this out, And if we have these gene mutations, sulforaphane, DMG, all this product actually works for that particular reason. But here's the thing, they are not detoxifying your body completely. And so what happens is that when you have MTHFR or CM2 gene mutations, uh, the methylation pathways are not working. They're taking outside chemicals like sulforaphanes and things like that to actually give the methyl donors, and so hopefully help some things. But the actual work in the liver is done by glutathione. Now the glutathione needs have just gone skyrocket because the conjugation pathways now to detoxify all those chemicals, even though methylated or not methylated, is just gone up. And so the glutathione needs have actually just gone crazy high for you. And so even though people take sulforaphane, I would if there is a way to increase glutathione levels intracellularly, which we do have now today, uh, all those products you can save a lot of money by not taking any of those products except for one product, which is glutathione.
Hmm. Okay, so let's talk about the other types of glutathione and glutathione supporters on the market. What are ones out there that maybe are getting a lot of buzz but aren't like really worth the money?
So if you think about it, there's about three or four different things categories. One is amino acid, which you just mentioned, NAC. By
Hmm.
far, that's the second best thing today, right? Then what you have, we actually liposome technology. So we made the first liposome glutathione back in 1999. This is before anybody even knew what liposomes was. I made the first liposome technology product in my pharmacy back in 1999. And
Wow,
I made vitamin C, glutathione, PQQ, astaxanthin, CoQ10. I made a whole bunch of products, right?
that's so
Of
cool.
course, of course, I sold the products off to somebody else, but the glutathione did not work for me. I said, wait a second. Glutathione is in intracellular levels. If I give it to you, it has to work. There's no. It's like if I give you money, Dr. Cole, you know the money is good to buy anything you want. It's not
Hmm.
like, oh, this money is not good. No, no, no. The money is good. You can buy anything you want. It's like if you give a body glutathione, it's what your body needs. But if it doesn't work, that means guess what? It never got to you. If I tell you, hey, Dr. Cole, there's a check in the mail, but you never get the mail, right? You didn't get the
Hmm.
money. And so I said, what is it? Why is it not working? So I couldn't figure it out. So I said, okay, I'll dump the project. I'll move on to the next best thing that I thought was the best thing was to make intravenous glutathione. And so in 2000, I started making an intravenous form of glutathione for very first time. And I found out that it only works for like 15, 20 minutes. I said, well, I couldn't figure out why, right? Of course, I got a big client in Las Vegas. They decided, I said, 20 minutes, that's all I need. I just get injected, get people off of hangover, I'll be done, right? So we actually launched a whole mobile clinic into Vegas back in the early 2000s. This was
Wow.
meant before what's today, 25 years later. Like everybody is, it's common to have IV drips done when you go to Vegas.
Yeah,
25 years ago, nobody knew about it, right? We were the first one to bring it in the marketplace at that time. Uh,
so cool.
and the thing is, what I found out was later on that somebody brought us some research to me in 1991. There was a study done. It's published in that PubMed at NIH that when they inject glutathione 2 grams of IV push, zero glutathione actually enter the blood cells. Zero. 100% stay in the plasma, and the plasma get filtered within 5 to 15 minutes, and there was a 300-fold increase of glutathione in the urine.
Hmm.
Everything that we just injected, 50, $80 worth of glutathione, was in the urine in 5 to
Peed
15
out.
minutes. But here's the thing, they all work a little bit. Even liposome worked a little bit. Even the IVs worked a little bit. And then I figured, why is it working? The issue that I found out was that an hour and a half or 2 hours later, there was a rise of cysteine in the blood.
Hmm.
Where does the cysteine come from? We just injected glutathione. We didn't inject cysteine. What the body was doing was even in the bladder was breaking apart the glutathione, absorbing the cysteine out of it. Cysteine is later used intracellularly to produce its own glutathione. You can only
Fascinating.
produce peptides endogenously. And I've been preaching that, and I had no proof of that one, right? Until the study was done. And then later
Yeah.
on in 2011, University of Texas in Austin did a full-on trial on liposome technology glutathione. And what they did was they took 26 kids. autistic kids, and gave them, half of them gave them the oral cap or oral liquid, half of them the topical glutathione, and when they found out, same exact thing, zero glutathione was in the blood at all. 100% was getting broken down. They saw a rise of cysteine in the blood, and later on, 6 hours to 2 days later, they saw a rise of glutathione eventually. And so we knew for all this 140 years that no matter what you do, you can inject it, you can use DMSO, you can use liposomes, I don't care what you do, you can get inside your body, but you cannot get inside your cells. And so that was a dilemma I had. So when I found out this early in 2000, I said, this is not going to work for me. There was a new emerging uh, technology that was existing in the marketplace at that time, was using dextrin technology. Nobody knew about this technology at that time because there was no drugs. There's nothing been approved yet, right? Only thing we knew, this was a GRAS status by FDA because it's just a bunch of sugar molecules, polysaccharide sugar molecules. So the FDA said, hey, this is completely safe at any concentration. So people were using it, but they had no idea what to do with it. So we, myself and my research partner is from USC Keck School of Medicine. He was there for decades. And says, "Can you please retire from there and just come work with me because I want to create this something new for us." I said, "No, I can't do that." I said, "I got plenty of money. I had zero money with me, right?" I said, "Don't worry, just come on down." It took me 2 years to recruit him, but he eventually came on board with me. And then I started. I just gave all my project to him. I said, "Hey, let's get this thing done. I want to use dextrin technology, combine it with glutathione, and I want to make a stable molecule and see if I can get through your skin and get through into your cells." And it took me 7 years to first stabilize a molecule and get through your skin first. Oh my God, I couldn't believe myself. I said, hey, first of all, skin is a physical barrier, right? People always say, oh, so is it nanoparticles? I said, guess what? Yes, it is, but it has nothing to do with the particle size. Particle size only matters to get through your physical barriers. The biggest barrier is the cell wall. That's a chemical barrier. And that chemical barrier, you cannot break it. You cannot inject it. So what we had to do is, what does the cell wall has that they can use the nutrients from outside sources? And the ACE2 receptors on the lipid rafts on the cell wall actually accepts sugar. It's carbohydrate to produce what? ATP. So, oh my God, I had the polysaccharides. I said, okay, well, let's do one thing. Find one that can go through your skin. Find another one that the body can use it up and sucks it up. So we use double dextrin molecules stuffed inside with glutathione because we already reduced the particle size. We stuff inside with glutathione. As soon as it gets into your skin, the cell just sucks it up. When it sucks it up, of course, it uses the energy for production of ATP, but then the byproduct was glutathione. It can spit it out, but guess what? Oh my God, I can use this too. And all of a sudden, for the very first time, we were actually delivering glutathione intracellularly. And
Wow.
uh, it was too early in my career. I had no idea what to do with this technology. I did not know there was nothing published anywhere in the world. And so it took me another 13, 14 more years to figure out how much to give you, how often to give you, am I going to get results, what am I going to get results, are I going to get side effects, is it going to be safe, if it's going to be effective? The questions were going in my brain like crazy, right? And so the first 13 years of research, I said, I couldn't go to parties anymore because everything people talk about is glutathione to me. I said, first thing I'm going to do is write a book. So I finished writing the book, The Glutathione Revolution. If you haven't get a copy, please get a copy. It's an amazing. It's just stories in there. All the people that I've served and helped, and they've shared their success stories with me. I want to let the people know about those things. And then when the book got published, my patents came through. I was still doing more research, but then the pandemic hit in 2020. And my doctor community started saying, oh my God, can you please release the product? Are you kidding me? We need this. We need to build up immune system. We need to reduce the cytokine storms. And so in 2020, we didn't have a bottle ready, no packaging ready. So we just put in a generic prescription type bottles and started giving out to patients all over the country. And in 2020, when we launched the product to the open public for the first time.
That is such a powerful story. What I see in you is such a passion for this. This is your life's work, and you wanted to get it right. You weren't going to just like rush something for the sake of it. You really wanted to get the mechanism right, the effectiveness right, the bioavailability right. So, what year was it when you had that eureka moment of getting glutathione in the cell? I mean, you mentioned 13 plus years ago.
It was 2007.
Wow. Okay. So that was the early-ish 2000s. You were kind of, you mentioned taking the IV, the glutathione IVs to Vegas, like the first in the city, right? Which is the place to do it for
Yes.
sure. But I mean, that is a question. Kind of going back, because I want to like go, kind of like dissect all the things you just said there. But what is your take on to like today, knowing what you know today, what is your take on IV glutathione and IV nutrients as a whole? Well, that's a common question that I get.
So IV glutathione, we were one of the largest producer for intravenous glutathione in the country,
Yeah.
and I could literally sold them business for millions and millions of dollars. Guess what I did? I shut it down.
Wow.
I literally shut it down.
Okay.
I could not sell it with my own heart. I could not sell to anybody else, knowing what I know today. I said, "There's no way I can sell a business to somebody, and because I'll be competing with them, letting them know that my technology is better than IVs." And because of that, I, I cannot sell the business. My conscience would not let me sell the business. And so we shut it down. So if you're doing glutathione IVs, stop it. Save your money. Save your money.
Save your
Right?
money. Because what
Uh,
you're saying is like the glutathione is being peed out. Yes, the body's grabbing some of the cysteine
yep.
and then utilizing it, but it's like an expensive way, an inefficient way to get glutathione up.
It's, if you want IVs, guess what? Inject cysteine. It's commercially available. It's cheap. Just do
Hmm.
that. It's so cheap.
That's a really fascinating. Do you think there's any nutrients that you do? I mean, from a wellness standpoint, not a
Yes.
medical standpoint, but from a wellness support optimization standpoint, are there any IV nutrients that you do like that do have better bioavailability and it's worth the money?
So all of those, right? The calciums, the magnesiums, the some of the B's. Well,
Vitamin
B's are
C.
not that much, but vitamin C is there as well. But again, keep in mind, vitamin C is not produced by human body.
Mm-hmm.
It says the vitamin C at low concentration is antioxidant, and high concentration becomes a pro-oxidant. In
Yeah.
reality, vitamin C is not that of a smart of a molecule. It's not a double personality molecule. It's cheap
Yeah.
molecule, and so
Mm-hmm.
whatever vitamin C can do, glutathione can do 10 times better.
Right. Okay.
So
Okay.
why
Cut it.
mess with it? Why mess with it? I,
Right.
I believe less is more. I truly believe less is more. Today, when I'm 54, I have so much energy. I have so much drive. I work literally 50, 60 hours a week and I never get tired. Last year, I traveled literally to 40 different conferences, right? 40 weeks out of the year, I was traveling and I never get tired anymore. I use glutathione, and besides glutathione, I take only one vitamin, just one pill, which is magnesium. That's all I do right now, but my diet is clean. I don't drink alcohol. I try to do everything possible to stay healthy, but not by seeing what goes into my mouth. If I can feel it that this is what the nature wants to be, then I can eat
Mhm.
it. Nature did not create cookies for us, right? We create cookies for ourselves. So guess what? Cookies doesn't go in my mouth.
That's a great motto, right? If Mother Earth gave it to us, try to stick to
That's
that
it.
as much as possible. And I have to say, for people that aren't watching this on YouTube or on social, you're a glowing, vibrant, young buck of a guy. So I have to say, you are practicing what you're teaching right now. So this delivery system, this sort of massive aha moment, I did it. 13 years passed. You could have did more studies, and then the pandemic hits. People need this stuff. You mentioned the initial bottles being just prescription bottles just to get it out for people. Like, what's that delivery system look like? I mean, how do you recommend for us to get our glutathione levels supported?
So basically, we have created this product for the public now, and we already figured out what dose to give you. Uh, we have two products we have released. One's a regular product, one's an extra strength product. More is not better. Just let you know. The more glutathione. Keep in mind what our body needs. If you give more than what a body needs, the body has to process it.
Mm-hmm.
So don't make your body work harder than it needs to. Just give the body what it needs and nothing more and nothing less. And so I do. That was my motto. So I had to figure out what doses to give you. So the regular strength glutaril is what we have, and if you use 4 sprays, which will give you almost 90 to 95% of what your body's needs are for that next half a day. And if you can do the day in, day out every single day, within a few months, you're going to hit complete saturation. Within a few years, you're gonna have the complete reversal of all the oxidative stress markers. And that's what, to me, that is what the holy grail is, right? It's about the
Hmm.
glutathione is doing its job. It's not the product. It's what is allowing your body to do it by itself is what I'm proposing over here.
Got it. So what's the dose exactly? Like how many? Yeah, just break it
It's
down for
four
us.
sprays twice a day. Four sprays are roughly between 90 to 110 milligrams is, for what the sprays you get. But four
Hmm.
sprays twice a day is all you need. Again, the dosage is very low, but
Hmm.
guess what? It doesn't need to be because any higher because you're getting straight into the cells.
Yeah.
Versus versus when you do IVs, I was injecting anywhere from 3 to 5 grams of IV push 3 times a week on some of my Parkinson's patients. And even then the results were not there. If I give even half a gram of my topical version, jeez, the hell will break loose on them.
So okay, for people that aren't seeing the product, it's 4 sprays on the skin. Like any, what's like the ultimate protocol to get the maximum benefit from it?
That's it. It's not about more. It's about what your body's needs are. And if you just, it's a marathon. You don't want to sprint the first 100 yards because there's 26.2 miles to go, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's slow and steady every single day is what you're going to get the best results. But if you go too much too fast, the body's going to unleash a lot of toxins out of your body, and you can have all kinds of reactions.
Yeah, it's too aggressive.
Too aggressive. So do
Yeah.
not do that part.
Okay, so I'm assuming clean skin, spray it. Do you have to rub it in? Do you just let it soak in? What's the steps after you do the sprays?
It's a clean skin. You spray 4 sprays. You rub it in. Takes about 30 seconds to a minute. It will completely soak inside your skin, and literally you will feel it completely gone from your skin. Completely gone. There's an odor to it, sulfur odor, that's gone. There's a stickiness, that's gone. Everything is gone because guess what? The cell just sucks it up. Everything.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so absorption rate is great. Okay, so what do you think that if you could explain for people how you see glutathione fitting into skincare specifically,
Oh yeah.
not just topical supplement, but for skincare?
So so when I was still doing my research on the wellness product, I released the product as a skincare product. So all my ladies were guys didn't agree with it, but that's okay. The ladies were just buying it like crazy. So what I did was, for the technology is such that I can reduce the particle size. So what I did was I took not just glutathione. I took vitamin C, CoQ10, carnosine, DMA, resveratrol, cyclostragenol. I took all the molecules, shrunk it, and put in like two products, right? Day product
Amazing.
and night product, depending on what your needs are going to be. A day and night product. I can put everything in one product too if I wanted to, but I mean that's an overkill because this is a 6 square inch of space, very limited space. You cannot shove a whole bunch of chemicals on that small surface area. So
Hmm.
I had to use technology to bring it down to a size small enough for the body can absorb it, and then once it gets inside your body, opens up and gets throughout the body. So that's my
Amazing.
skincare. So I do have a skincare line that I created for the ladies for a long time, and I never promoted this until about a year ago. So all this time, my focus was always on wellness and trying to help people out as much as possible. But the skincare is just eventually started getting, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. So people are just getting it now the public knows about the skincare as well because I put a website now, I put everything on it now.
Yeah, well, I love this because this is science first, is effectiveness first, not the the branding and the way that things look. Like yes, that matters, but it should be secondary or tertiary too. The effectiveness and the science behind it and the safety behind it. Okay, so what's that routine look like? What's your glutathione skincare routine look like?
So in the morning, my biggest focus in the morning is I want to make sure that I deal with the oxidative stress from the sun on a day on a morning basis. So throughout the day. So what I
Hmm.
have done is I have used a very high dose ascorbic acid, vitamin C, 25%, and disperse them into the skin. Once I
Okay.
disperse that out, then I use a facial product, a cream, a lotion, a moisturizer that goes over it that has the carnosine. carnosine has an ORAC value that keeps on increasing. I have the CoQ10 because I need to revive those energy cells back to normal. So I need the ATP energies. I want a DMAE because DMAE is a fish protein that gets your skin a little tighter, right? And so that's my morning routine: a serum and a cream. And then the same thing at nighttime. I have a serum and a cream, but the serum at nighttime, I want to use a very heavy dose of glutathione, just once a day. But if there's any sun damage for that day, I want to quench all those free radicals and bring back to zero. So that my nighttime routine includes glutathione serum. You press it in your full face, so that's done. And then on top of that, I want to add resveratrol and cycloestrogenol. And if you think about cycloestrogenol, it's one of the only chemicals that we have known to increase telomeres. But
Hmm.
the effect of the telomeres lengthening only happens if we reduce oxidative stress down. So Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who won the Nobel Prize to identify the telomeres lengthening, if you look at all the research, it shows that the telomeres is elongated or lives longer based on oxidative stress markers. And so if you can push to get it longer, it's okay. But in reality, is if you reduce oxidative stress down and then push it, you're going to have much more profound impact. So my nighttime routine is glutathione, cycloestrogenol, and resveratrol as a combination. So that's, to me, this is a whole 1 day routine. It's a match made in heaven for me. And that's, if this four products can replace literally every single product in the world.
So cool, man. This has been such a blessing to meet you and talk with you. I'm such a fan. This is you're a living legend. But before we go, at the end of the podcast, the podcast is called The Art of Being Well. At the end, we have your Art of Being Well. This is Dr. Nayan Patel's Art of Being Well. The first question is, what is the worst tasting healthy food that you have? It's not for taste; it's for the health science benefits.
So I eat celery juice every day. I drink celery
Okay,
juice every single morning, but I drink with the leaves. The leaves that I,
nice.
oh, that's
The
so bitter.
real, the real dirty, real
The
dirty.
real dirt. It's so bitter. And so I have two different juices, one with the leaves and one without the leaves. And so one without the leaves, I probably have it maybe every third day, but the every 2 days in a row, I have to have with the leaves. It's just so bitter. But you know
Yeah.
what? Now I'm just used to it.
What have you noticed since you started doing that?
You know what? It's so funny. I I don't notice anything different when I take all the healthy foods anymore. It's
Cool,
like
because you're
your
just
body's
supporting
just,
maintenance, right?
it's just maintenance right now to me. I can literally spray 20 sprays of glutathione on me twice a day and nothing happens to me, right?
Yeah, no
Some people
herks,
just apply six
detox.
sprays and oh my God, they get all kinds of detox reactions that are happening, right? And so I am overall such a, my body's so good right now that I can eat all kinds of healthy foods and I don't see the difference that much. But if I
Yeah,
eat junk food, oh my God, instantaneously I can feel the difference right away.
yeah. Your high vibrations, doctor. What's the do you take? You mentioned keeping things simple. I think
Yes,
you mentioned. Oh yeah, you kind of answered this already. So you just to be clear, you only take a magnesium,
that's
and
it.
that's basically it. There's no other supplement.
No other supplement. My biggest hack that I do for myself because I need my brain power. So I go to chamber at least 5 times a week. It's a hyperbaric chamber. So
Okay,
I have a chamber in my house, and I go in the chamber at least 5 times a week.
amazing. Is there a certain level that you like for hyperbaric?
Just one level, 1.3 atmosphere. It's a soft shelf. Just go in there, 30% more oxygen coming to me. I don't do, again, to me, everything is slow and steady. I put into my routine habits. Once I put into my routine doesn't change.
Hmm.
If I want to do something, I have to put in part of my routine. If I don't put part of the routine, it's not happening.
Yeah. Do you have a specific type of magnesium, like a kind of magnesium that you like, or any magnesium?
No. So basically, right now, I'm taking almost six different types of magnesium. So in the morning, I have magnesium oxides, malate, glycinate. Uh, these are all chelated form of magnesium. And
Yeah,
the
like a
evening, I
threonate.
have magnesium threonate,
Okay.
glycinate. I think it's oxide as well in there. And so,
Okay.
to me, you know what? It's such a magnesium is there to conduct electricity. And so
Hmm.
everybody has to find out what's right for them, right? I wish I can take a shot, magnesium sulfate shots, but I'm such a wimp when it comes to shots. I don't take the shots myself.
That's funny. What's Do you eat out ever in restaurants? And if you do, what's your favorite restaurant and what do you order?
So I try to look for hole in the wall. Uh, I try to look for those. I don't know, try to look not to look for any commercial restaurants. My foods always starts with a salad. As long as they have a salad or soup, that's my first thing that I consume. And then whatever I eat, it has to have lot of vegetables. I don't eat meat. I try not to
Oh,
eat any meat whatsoever. Once in a while, I do eat fish. That's only last 3 years I started putting fish back into my diet. Once in a while, nothing on a weekly basis either. So maybe once or twice a month I eat fish. But other than that, just vegetables, mostly vegetables all the time. Uh, Try to get all my amino acids through that as much as
got
possible.
it. What? Okay, that's fascinating. So very plant based, semi pescatarian occasionally. What are your favorite sources of plant protein?
Lentils. I use a lot of lentils and seed beans and things like that. That's mainly my plant based proteins that I have. Again, if your needs are very little, you're okay. I
Yeah.
don't have to. I don't be all buffed up and look like a monster.
Yeah. Hey, man, no monsters over here either. The
Yeah,
what is do you intermittent fast?
I do. So my first meal of the day is the same time every morning. It's at 11 a.m. And my last meal doesn't matter. What I found out that the first meal is more important than anything else. So the timing of the first meal is somewhat same, about 11:30 ish every morning, and then my last meal is about 7, 6, 7, sometimes 8. Depends on my kids' schedule if they have softball game or have to go to the games and watch them play. So my dinner may get to 8 o'clock at night sometimes, but that's the latest.
Got it. Before we started recording, I found out that Dr. Patel and I, like, he lives where I used to live back in the day. My wife's from Southern California. I went to school out there, and from a very specific area of Cerritos, like Long Beach, Whittier, La Habra, La Mirada. And my first job when I lived out there in school was at the Starbucks, the barista. And you said I was at the Starbucks at Cerritos Town Center, and you said that's the Starbucks that my daughter makes me go and gets me my drinks, which I think about that Starbucks a lot. I mean, I could go and make a good macchiato even today, if I had to. What do you go to Starbucks yourself? Is my question. And if you do, like, what's your Starbucks order?
So I don't drink coffee or tea or juices, only water.
Okay. Wow, Dr. Patel, this is you are next level. I love this. Why don't you drink coffee or tea?
I I never get the taste of it. Now, so on a weekend, sometimes on a Saturday, I'll have probably have one tea bag. This tea that I get from England is the gold full English breakfast tea that I get. Put one tea bag in 30 ounces of hot water, and I'll sip on it for a couple of hours on it. So just for the taste of it, but in reality, no, it's doesn't excite me that much anymore.
Yeah, but so does it hurt you to get your daughter her Starbucks order?
No, no, no. That's my way of connecting to her. So
I love that.
I'll
That's
do
such
it.
a good thing.
Yeah, I'll do for anything for her. So
Amen to that. Non-judgment, man. Let people live the life they want to, right?
yes.
This has been such a blessing. Where do people go to learn about your work? I have a special code for them too, but like, yeah, tell them where they go.
Oh, it's my website is aurowellness.com, AURO wellness.com. They also have the skincare, which is Oro Skincare, but it's the same website. It's auroskincare.com. You know what? It's one of those things. This has been such a blessing in my life, in my family's life, that I wish everybody at least gets to try it one time to see how you can feel. And if you are not healthy, you are going to feel the difference in the first 30 days. If you're healthy, then you're not going to feel any difference whatsoever. But that would be the best thing I can give it to you to let you know that you are healthy otherwise. And now you can continue staying healthy, and so you can use the product for that purpose as well. But if you're not healthy, you're going to feel the difference in 30 days or less.
Yeah, that's so true. Okay, and Dr. Patel gave me a special code for everybody. They just use code WillCole at aurowellness.com. We said AURO wellness.com, code WillCole. You get 15% off your first purchase. Thanks,
Oh,
Dr.
wow.
Patel. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
You
Thank
didn't
you.
know you gave it to me, but you gave it to me. Thank you so much. Come back anytime.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.